everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and happy Sunday, January 15th of 2023. Okay, I have a beautiful message for you today that is taken from an article that I found by a woman named Pamela Kribbe. Now, I've never heard of her. I ran across this article and I read it and it resonated with me, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is a beautiful way to look at what's happening in the world, look at the duality that's happening between good and evil, light and dark, bad and good, all of those things. And the idea of another consciousness that is happening not just with the humans, but with the planet. And this article just completely resonated with me. So I'm going to link the full article below this video so that you can read it yourself. And it might resonate with you, and it might not. It might not interest you at all. But it really resonated with me. So what I've done is I've written down some of these ideas, and some of these are directly from Pamela. So some of these are not my words, so I'm giving full credit to her, and you will see if you read the article yourself. So this idea of a transition happening for humanity is something that many of us, I think, feel, but we might not be able to put our finger on it, right? And if you're like me, you've been going through a spiritual awakening, a consciousness awakening. Maybe this is a path that you've been on your whole life. You know, for me, I grew up in a very religious household, and we learned about spirituality, but it had the religious construct around it. And as an adult, the spiritual part of my upbringing always resonated with me, but the construct of the religious organization, it just didn't. And I was able to release that and walk through my life and study and work on my spirituality by looking at everything that is out there and that it has to offer. And I will say the last 3 years have been super, super heightened because I've walked through this with a certain amount of angst, anxiety, fear, judgment, followed by moments of hope and happiness and enthusiasm. And it's like an emotional roller coaster. So when I read this article, I was like, oh my goodness, there feels like there is so much truth in here. So let me just get started because I wrote down 6 pages. I'm going to probably not go through all of them because this will probably be like an hour, and I am not going to let that happen. So a transition is taking place on Earth. A new consciousness is dawning, which will take material shape sooner or later. And like that completely feels so congruent with the way I've watched and the way that I've felt humanity is going. Exactly how this transition will come about, what form it will take, is not fixed. The future is always indeterminate. The only thing that is really given is this moment, the now. This is what we know for certain, is what we are doing right now in the present moment. From the well of the now, countless possible roads are springing, an infinite web of possible futures. We get to determine what our future is, and a lot of it depends on how we look at life, our past, our future, what we feel about the future. Do we feel hope, fear, anxiety? Do we feel neutral? Do we feel that the future is going to hold what it's going to hold, and we get to be a witness and a part of it, and we get to help determine what it looks like? That is what feels right for me. Try to let go of whatever's going on around you. Accept the fact that it is happening for a reason. Oh, that's hard, right? Have no judgment or expectations of those in power. Oh boy, right? That was kind of like, that really hit home for me because I do believe that we have expectations of the people that are in power, right? And to a certain extent, they should be held accountable, 100%. So you have to be able to release the expectations of people in power. It doesn't mean that we can't expect things from the people who are in power, okay? That sounds a little bit contradictory, I know. Every situation is teaching you how to let go. The more you persist, the more you will witness the bad in the world while missing the good part. So think about this. The more you persist in looking at things, watching videos, watching TV, reading things that confirm how bad the world is going to keep you stuck in that. And you're going to miss all the good parts, the good parts of being in this human existence. I will tell you, for the better part of the last 3 years, and there's been ups and downs. I've been in a space of, I will say, fear and judgment, but that has come from watching other people react differently than I think that they should react. And that keeps me in the same loop of fear and judgment. You can have fear and judgment towards something that you think is bad, but on the other hand, another person could have fear and judgment at something that you think is good. Like, think about that. That's huge to realize that everyone has their journey, and we're all walking through this and on this planet, in this life, and we get to choose to have no judgment and no fear. Okay, so let me skip ahead to this, because like I said, I've got 6 pages here, and I could go on and talk to you for a long time. So duality in your everyday life has certain characteristics. So the goal is to be in a place of neutrality. And I'm not talking about non-action, not being happy, or, just being a person who's just flatlining. I'm talking about there are certain characteristics of duality that would be beneficial to us, our consciousness, our learning, our journey, to release. Okay, so here's a characteristic of duality. Your emotional life is essentially unstable. There is no anchor present. You're always either up or down or in a particular mood, angry or forgiving, narrow-minded or generous, depressed or enthusiastic, happy or sad. Your emotions go back and forth between extremes. Oh, I can relate to that 100%. You seem to have only limited control over your emotions. Think about it. And this is me. I watch something that confirms my fears of what's happening in the world and where we're going and how it's going to be this dystopian future. And I am just anxious. I'm frustrated. I'm judgmental of other people. And that is a crazy roller coaster. And then on the other side, I watch something, I read something, I talk to somebody who paints this picture of the hope and all the wonderful stuff. And then I'm on this huge upswing and my emotions are good. So it's not about not acknowledging or recognizing all of the different polarities. It's about bringing yourself into a place of neutral, like a seesaw. Here's all the good, here's all the bad. And it could be opposite for everyone. Someone might think this is good and that this is bad. Someone might think this is good and this is bad. But when you're on a seesaw where it's balanced, and I'm talking about your consciousness, not good and evil being balanced, your consciousness, you're bringing yourself to a place in the center where it's still. And you now have an emotional anchor. You've anchored yourself. So number 2 of the characteristics of duality is that you are intensely involved in the outer world. It is very important to you how other people judge you. Your self-esteem depends on what society and your loved ones mirror back to you about who you are. You are trying to live up to their standards of right and wrong, and you're doing your very best. That does it all right there, right? So number 3, you have strong opinions about what is good and what is bad. That describes pretty much all of us, right? Except for the very, very highly evolved, conscious humans, where if you've been on a spiritual path, a soul-growing path, this is the place that you want to be in. This is this place we strive for, is a place of not judging the world, of being, and you're very, very involved. Is the world good? Is the world bad? Number 4, Being judgmental gives you a sense of security. Oh, that one is so big. Life is so well organized when you divide it into actions, thoughts, and people. Let me start over with that. Life is so well organized when you divide it into actions, thoughts, and people, into either right or wrong. So your life is more organized when you can say, this person's bad, this person is good. This person is not doing what they should, and this person is doing what they should. And this is a sign that you are still living in duality. Now, I also have a little list of 4 things that show these are the characteristics that you're able to release duality. Number 1 is you listen to the language of your soul, which speaks to you through your feelings. Now think about this. This is our intuition. This is our inner guidance. And instead of paying attention to other people's opinions or other people's judgments or other people's fears or other people's hopes and dreams, you listen to the intuition, the inner workings of your soul. And that's what you pay attention to. This is something that, I've talked about a lot in some of the videos that I've done, is listening to that inner guidance that we have. And sometimes you have to disconnect from all the noisiness of the world, and you have to get still before you can listen to that inner guidance. I've had many, many times over the years where I've been driving in a car where there was one in particular where I had my kids in the back. It was late at night. I was driving from Northern California, where I live, down to Southern California to visit one of my sisters. My kids were small. They were probably preschool, if I were to guess. And as I was driving, I had an accident on the way down to see my sister, and I had another accident that was missed on my way back home. And both times I had an intuition, the first one to slow down and because I was on a freeway, slow down and be prepared to pull over. So I moved to the right side of the road. I slowed way down. My kids were both asleep in the back, and I didn't have any indication that anything was going to happen, but there was this strong, very, very much of a message that was just boom, right on my chest. I could feel it on my chest. And it was move over and slow down and be prepared to, and what happened is there was a kind of a bang, and the one of the tires on my car that was still connected to the axle came off, and it flipped, and I was on just that round metal thing, I don't even know what it's called, and I screeched over and ended up on the side of the road. And when I finally reached, I was carpooling down with one of my sisters, and it's actually been a long time since I've thought of this, because it's been probably 35 years since this happened, but I was carpooling with another one of my sisters. So she saw me slow down and pull over, or slow down, and then this happened, and she pulled over. So we were able to, this was before cell phones. This just goes to show you. We had someone come, saw what happened, and pulled over to help us. And they were able to go back, get off on the next exit, and find someone to get a tow truck and take us to where we could get my car fixed. And it stopped our trip until the next day. But the guy with the tow truck, when he came, he said, I don't know how you just ended up on the side of the road, still upright. You should have had a horrific accident. And I will tell you, my kids were in the back asleep, like I said. They were stretched out in the back with blankets and pillows, and they did not have seatbelts on. And I know that God was watching over me and giving me a message, a strong, strong message, right to the depths of my soul, to pull over and slow down when I did. So that was huge, and that had a huge impact on me as I moved forward in my life. And I could tell you multiple times when I've had situations of that exact thing happening. And I have become so in tune with that even if this might sound like a minuscule thing, but if I'm over to someone's house for dinner, I'm out to dinner with other people, and I get a feeling of something that's being served that I'm not supposed to eat because it might not agree with me, or I don't know what it is, I pay attention to that. And I never ever discount those small promptings. I believe that they are messages from God, and they are there to protect us and help us. And that's listening to that piece of us that is God, our soul. So you listen to the language of your soul, which speaks to you through your feelings. How do I feel about this? This is something we need to look at. And this is different from emotions. This is not emotional response. Okay, number 2, you act upon this language and create the changes your soul wishes you to make. That says it right there. Number 3, you value quiet time alone. Only in silence can you hear the whispers of your soul. You know, I've always been a person who loves my quiet time and my time by myself. And on the opposite hand of that, I'm also a very social person. I'm a very much an extrovert. And I love to be with people and experiencing life with friends and family and noisiness and the fun of just being a human. But when I get those times when I am able to be by myself and just tune in to that stillness, intuitive part of me, this is where my best creative thoughts come. This is where my best moments of clarity, humanity, spirituality, and being in the now. This is where they come from. And then number 4 here is you question the authority of thought patterns and or rules of behavior. You question the authority of thought patterns or rules of behavior. You block the free expression which block the free expression of your true inspiration. Okay, this one resonated pretty hard with me because I grew up with parents, and especially my dad, who always taught us to be skeptical of authority. Be skeptical of it, no matter what it was, government, medical, whatever it was. And it wasn't he never taught us to be disrespectful, but it was always about questioning authority and rules. And I'm not talking about not wearing a seatbelt and not obeying the speed limit. I am not talking about those kinds of things. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So when you're starting to release duality, you question the authority of thought patterns or rules of behavior which block the free expression of your true inspiration. To me, that is really powerful. Now, one of the reasons that this article resonated with me this week when I read it is I've talked over the last couple of years about this girl that I see who does Reiki. She does energy work. She does something called the emotion code. And she was really one of the people that really helped ground me and steady me throughout these last couple of years. And as I've just kind of been watching the world along with the rest of you and being judgmental and full of fear and all of those things. But at the first of this year, so just a couple weeks ago, I reached out to her and said, hey, it's a new year. I'd love to come and see you and just see if there's anything that I need to work on. And the interesting part is I have been feeling in such a place of calmness, stability, purpose, inspiration, and non-judgment and non-fear the last probably, 4 or 5 months, which isn't a long time, but in the scheme of things, it has felt game-changing for me. But I just thought, you know what, I'm going to reach out to Alyssa and I'm going to say, hey, I'd love to come see you, and if there's any little residuals of things that I've been working on that feel like they're cleared, she's become a very dear friend, so I wanted to see her anyway. So I booked a session with her, and it was just a couple of days ago. It was on Friday, and typically what we always do is we'll do the first part of the session will be the emotion code, where and if you don't know what that is, look it up. It's just, you can find it online, and it's a way of helping with the facilitator, help you release stuck emotions. And it can be within yourself, it could be generational. It's a beautiful thing that I feel I have benefited greatly from. So when I went in to see her on Friday, she's like, okay, what do you want to work on today? And I said, well, I don't feel like I have any stuck emotions. Like, I feel the most calm, moments of clarity that I have for a long time, even since before the pandemic. Those thoughts of judgment and fear heightened up, and I've been working on them so diligently that these last 4 or 5 months where they feel dissipated. They feel like, when you see something and you watch it dissolve, and you actually physically watch something dissolve into, say you put, here's a good example. I do a cup of tea every morning, and I put powdered collagen in my tea. And I put the scoop of collagen in, and I watch it sink into the tea and dissolve. And so it's almost like that. It almost feels like the duality emotions that I have let rule me for most of my life, and intensely the last couple of years, just dissipated. And it didn't happen all at once. It didn't happen. There was lots of work I put in. I had people help me, as far as this friend who does Reiki and the emotion code. I've actually had a couple other intense, amazing experiences the last couple of years that have been beautiful game changers for me. But she said, well, let's test you to see if there's anything that needs to be cleared. So she does muscle testing, and she asked a question: is there anything that Jane needs to clear? And it was a full, fast no. And I was just like, wow. So all these things that I'm feeling are just so beautifully true for me. And so then what we did is we spent the rest of the session just doing Reiki, which Reiki is energy work, energy healing. I mean, we are energy. If you look at us, take us down to a microscopic level, we are energy. That's what we are. And it was interesting because when the session was done, she said to me, you are feeling so clear. And all I did was help to push more love and light into all of you, all of your being, all of your chakras. I mean, it was really a beautiful session. And so what happened is I read the article I'm sharing with you, and then I had this experience with Alyssa, and I thought, wow, now I don't think I'm all the way there yet. I think I still have a lot of work to do. And I know that I'll still have moments of fast judgment for other people and people in positions of power and all of that. But my hope is that I will be able to recognize it quicker and help it dissolve quicker and bring me to that place of neutrality, of being still and quiet and peaceful and not missing out on the good stuff. Think about all of the good stuff. In fact, I also found this great little short video that I sent to one of my nephews. His wife is getting ready to have their first baby. She's due any day. And I saw this great little video of this dad playing in the rain with his little daughter. She looked like she was about 3. And she had her raincoat on, and he was out there with his raincoat on. And the whole message was, experience all of the beauty and gorgeousness of living on this planet. And this little girl was just splashing around in this puddle in just utter joy. And the dad was out there experiencing it with her. And I think what happens is we get annoyed. We get annoyed by the rain. We cover up. We try to, and I'm not saying go out and get all soaked and make yourself miserable. I'm really not saying that. To me, this is about taking the things that maybe we might normally be annoyed by and realizing the joy in it. So let me see if I can find where this ends. Okay. So let me end with some of these great thoughts right here. Okay, so 25 minutes almost. Okay, so more often than not, your whole lifestyle will turn topsy-turvy when you are having a spiritual awakening or a realization that you create the duality of the roller coaster of emotions that you experience. And this is only natural. Inner changes are always the forerunner of changes in your outer world. So if you want your outer world to look more peaceful and more blissful, it starts in here. It starts here. Your consciousness creates the material reality that you dwell in, and it is always that way. If you vibrate in higher consciousness, love, forgiveness, joy, all of those things, when you vibrate in that conscious realm and you make an effort to stay there when you find yourself slipping to less than that, you're basically creating your material world. In fact, here's a really good example of that. The way I discovered to make my life more abundant was to become more generous, unconditionally generous. The more I would give of my time, my resources, my unconditional love, the more it flowed back to me tenfold. And this, I mean, to experience this is something that once this happens in your life, it will never go back. It will never change. And I can personally attest to that. It's an absolute unbelievable place to be in. What is the purpose of going through duality? Do not underestimate your purpose here on earth. I think the purpose is to go into a different consciousness, to go into not just lower consciousness or stay in lower consciousness or get into higher consciousness, but I think it's to go into something that is a third consciousness, and this is what Pamela talks about, a Christ consciousness, which you can take a look at both good and evil, light and dark, good and bad, and you can be, you realize that they're there to show the contrast of each other. And to be in a Christ consciousness is a completely different thing. I think people like Eckhart Tolle, he's one of those people that's the space he lives in. And if you've studied his work and you've studied the work of other people that have reached a level of being in the now and experiencing consciousness at that level, that's what that is. So what is the purpose of going through duality? Is do not underestimate your purpose here on earth. You belong to the most creative, advanced, and courageous part of God. You are explorers of the unknown and creators of the new. We are creators of the new earth that's coming. I believe we chose to come during this time. There's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt. The true purpose of your journey is not to conquer evil or darkness, but to go beyond the opposites and to create a new type of consciousness which can maintain unity in the presence of both light and dark. Oh, that gives me chills. That is our purpose. So maybe let me read that one more time. The true purpose of your journey is not to conquer evil or darkness, but to go beyond these opposites and to create a new type of consciousness which can maintain unity in the presence of both light and dark. Maintain unity. We've been hearing this a lot, right? The forces that are out there, they keep us divided because we are stronger when we are united. So that right there is such a beautiful place to end this. I could have expanded on this for a long time, but this is not my area or wheelhouse of serious expertise. I know what I personally have experienced, and I would truly love to start a conversation of maybe what your own spiritual growth, your spiritual understanding of the amazing beings and soul consciousness that we are. I think that the next few years, my plan is to enjoy the process and to see all the good and experience all the good. And I hope that for you too. So let's come along on this journey together, because everything that we get to experience is for our benefit. And if when we go through hard times and times of sorrow and times of loss, those are growing experiences, and we all experience them. This is not a unique to one person experience. We all have that. And it gives us compassion and love for our fellow humans and what we all get to experience and be united on in this beautiful life together. So I hope that this came together with some coherence. I always do when I bring something out that feels not necessarily uncomfortable, but a little bit out of my wheelhouse as far as teaching or sharing something. I hope this resonates with you. I hope this brings some clarity. Like I said, please know that these are my opinions based on my experiences and my interpretation of the things that I read. And I encourage you to click on the link and read the full article. It's very beautiful. So I hope you have an amazing day. Thank you so much for being there. This year is going to unfold into some incredible, incredible up-leveling of the consciousness of humanity and a change of the planet. It's happening, and we're here to experience it. How amazing. So thanks for watching, you guys. Thanks for tuning in. It's always enlightening for me to jump on and share some of these thoughts, because it helps cement some of the growth and the learning that I've personally been going through. So I thank you for being there and allowing me to have this platform and to share my thoughts with you. So I hope you have a beautiful week ahead. May it be full of just all of the beauty that life has to offer. And I wish you well. Take care, and we'll see you next time.